Hey folks, Pastor Mark here with just a quick spot about Good Friday. I had to get somewhere where I had a crucifix behind me, because otherwise Good Friday doesn't have quite the same picture. You see, God had a plan. For years, man was on trial, and man's concern was for centuries was how can we atone for our sins? So God made a plan with Moses, and that plan was to perform animal sacrifices. Now, this was never meant to take sins away, but to cover them with the blood of the animal. This was a temporary solution, a workaround, if you will. God said the shedding of an animal's blood would temporarily cover the sin of the people or a nation. So for years, animals, lambs, turtle doves were sacrificed, but this was never meant to be a permanent solution. But in Genesis, God spoke about a solution in the garden. He said, "He will crush your head and you will strike his heel." See, the crafty serpent was the one that God was speaking to at that time. He was going to win temporarily by striking the body of the one that he was against, and then God would win by crushing him. See, Jesus rose again. Jesus was crucified. He was nailed to a cross and he died. And that was terrible. That was the striking of the heel. But then he crushed his head. He crushed the serpent's head when he rose from the grave on Easter Sunday morning. Now, Good Friday, here's the thing. Good Friday, that was God's solution. The only sacrifice that once and for all would bring mankind into a right relationship with God was Good Friday. See, we discussed that erasing your sin debt is free, because that's why Jesus came. John 3:3 is very clear on that Jesus came to die for us, but it's free to us, but to God it cost everything. You see, God found out what it was like to lose a son. God found out it was like to be angry, to have those that he loves turn away from him. Jesus found out what it was like to have his body beaten, flogged, his beard plucked out, his face spat on, to have those that he loves turn away from him. He went through all of that, and it was far from free for him. But to you and I, it is a gift that he gave us. Not free per se, but it's of no cost to us. He gives a solution to our trial. How do I measure up? How do I wipe my ledger clean? How do I get the red off of my books from all the things that I've done in my life? Nothing we can do can measure up to what's already been done right here on Good Friday. So this is Good Friday. And you're saying, but preacher, the coronavirus, why would God allow mankind to suffer? Why is there evil? Why is there heartache in the world? Why is there all these terrible things happen? See, for years, we were the ones that were on trial. And then somewhere we turned that around and we put God on trial. And we said, God, why would you allow these terrible things to happen to us? Why would you allow these horrible things to happen to us? Well, there's a couple of quick answers. One is all he'd have to do to fix that is take away our freedom of choice. He could make us do whatever he wants us to do, and that would give us zero choice. But instead, what he decided to do was to allow us to continue to make choices, but give us a solution, which was the cross. He gave us this. And where is God in the midst of all of this? God's in the hands of his people. God's in the ones who are out there sewing, masks together for people. God's in the ones who are getting groceries for folks and leaving them on their porch, or sending letters to nursing homes, or God's in the hands of in the midst of the nurse who continues to go to work at the ER. But she can't go home and see her children because she has a son who's immunocompromised. God's in the fast food owner who gives free coupons and meals to people who are hurting, and churches who are making masks. And I think about not just now during the coronavirus, which we're just starting to see people reach out, but years and years ago, when in Puerto Rico, when after the hurricane, the churches that came to help with that. In Louisiana, how many churches went down to help with relief after Katrina? And after 9/11, how many churches went up to New York to help with everything that was going on after the World Trade Centers were bombed? You see, that's where God's in. God is in the hands of his people. Years and years ago, through the Black Plague, the Christians refused to leave, and that's where our hospital system came from, was because they chose to not leave and to flee Europe. Instead, they chose to set up places where they could help those who needed medical help. And again, hence our hospital system. So the answer has always been and will always be Good Friday. This was God's solution to our problem. Don't forget that Sunday morning, he rose from the tomb, and he did that to show us that he is victorious over death and over sin. This is Pastor Mark.